Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 169 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, what is going on?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
I've had a good week. Rode the motorcycle for a couple hours the other day. It's been nice out.
Good. I like that, man.
Yeah.
I haven't rode mine, but like I said, I don't have one yet. So until I get one.
It makes it hard to ride one when you won't fork over the money to actually go get one.
Got to have one.
You're impeding our ability to go on a TCAT motorcycle tour.
Yeah. It's important. I'm going to try to say sure a lot because I know there's a drinking game out there. Every time I say sure, I'm going to say it a lot. So when I say sure, you have to do a shot of
let me
Tito's.
say then up front, we're not responsible for anything that happens. So Gibbs, we continue to see some amazing support from our Patreon folks. Let's give some shout outs.
Okay.
We had Shanna Travis.
Hey, Shannon.
Sydney Richardson.
What's going on, Sydney?
Emily Markram.
Hey, thanks, Markham.
Cassie Lowry.
What's going on, Cassie?
Kellyanne.
Hey, Kellyanne.
Chris Lang.
Hey, thanks, Chris.
Dana Harden.
What's going on, Dana?
Anthony Lorato.
Hey, Lorato.
Chance Peace.
Hey, what's up? Peace out.
Miranda Bryant.
Hey, Miranda.
Holly.
What's going on, Holly?
Jeffrey Harris.
Hey, thanks, Jeffrey.
Danielle Eggers.
Hey, Eggers.
Jeremy Wagner.
Well, thank you, Jeremy.
Brian Long.
Hey, Brian.
Cammie Norris.
What's up, Norris?
Sarah King.
Sarah King.
Yep.
There you go.
Paul Stark.
Hey, Paul.
Shannon Kidd.
What's going on, Shannon?
Laurel King.
Hey, Laurel.
Rosalind Pierce.
Thank you, Rosalind.
Jay.
Hey, Jay.
Kelsey Riley.
Hey, Kelsey.
Brennan Allen.
What's going on, Brennan?
And last but not least, Sarah Cole.
Hey, thanks, Sarah.
So we appreciate the new support. And then if we go back into the vault, we're going all the way back.
All the way back.
As far as we can, we selected Brittany Frazier.
Hey, Brittany.
Been with us a long time. Big support of the show. And we appreciate that long-term support as well. We also had some great PayPal donations. Derek Walker.
Hey, Derek.
Mary Keenan.
Hey, thanks, Mary.
Kelsey McCartney.
Really? Thanks.
Yeah.
McCartney, Paul's
daughter.
Yeah.
And Jessica Garber.
What's going on, Jessica?
So thanks to all of you as well. Gibbs, right now we have an episode out on TCAT. We're talking about the vampire cult leader, Rod Farrell.
Oh, man, it's so good.
It's a good episode. I think people will really like it. I think a lot of people will remember it once they start to hear some of the details. It was a case that received quite a bit of coverage. I mean, you're talking about a 16-year-old kid who, you know, along with a bunch of other teenagers, kind of forms this vampire clan. And then, you know, it results in murder. Don't forget about Stitcher Premium. If you want to hear our old episodes, anything older than 6 months is out there on Stitcher Premium.
Yeah. Or you can reach out to me and I'll read them to you.
Over the phone?
Well,
That's a big time commitment.
I like have to listen. Well, it goes in one ear and try to read it out to you at the same time. It's, recite it. It doesn't work very well. I mean, basically you're going to get the Mad Lib.
I think you're going to get the telephone Gibby version, that old telephone game.
Yeah, I'll take it from an hour down to 5 minutes and, that works.
But they have a free 30-day trial, so you've got nothing to lose. Check it out.
No, it's awesome.
All right, buddy, are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved?
I'm ready.
We're talking about the 2013 mysterious death of Kendrick Johnson. So we're headed down to Valdosta, Georgia. Let's talk a little bit about Kendrick Johnson. He was known as KJ and was born on October 10th, 1995 to Kenneth and Jackie Johnson in Valdosta, Georgia. Now, we didn't find a lot on his early years, but what we do know is that KJ was very talented in all of the different sports he played, and he played a lot of them from an early age. He was pretty much a natural at all these different sports, but it was football that was his greatest passion, and he played it extremely well.
Oh, very well. Yeah.
KJ was also very intelligent. He was on the honor roll at Lowndes High School. And at the time of his death, he was a 17-year-old sophomore. KJ was also a very handsome guy. In Gibbs, he was one of those guys that other people gravitated to, especially the girls.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're talking about a guy that's kind of got it all, right? The young man who's smart, athletic, handsome. And then on top of that, he was just a really good person.
We call that the Ferguson experience.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's like, just take me
exactly
and transfer it into a younger version.
Right.
And that's what you get.
Exactly.
Not quite, but I'll say this. KJ had a lot more going for him than I did as a 17-year-old. Let's put it that way. I'm going to be brutally honest.
Well, you were handsome, according to you. And you were athletic, according to you. But I know you were smart.
Yeah, but again, put it all together, not to the degree that he was. Yeah. I mean, when you talk about athletics, he was playing at a very high level.
Yeah.
As far as his talent, his ability.
Just a natural.
KJ loved his family. And I think when you say family, we're talking about all of his extended family. So, not just his immediate family, but cousins and nieces, nephews, uncles, aunts, but also his very close friends.
Yeah, he was close with all of them.
So we pick up this case in the fall of 2012 when KJ and his other football teammates were on a bus ride home. During the bus ride, there was an alleged argument that broke out, as well as a fight over a boy named Brian Bell, claiming that KJ was seeing his girlfriend behind his back. So the coaches broke up the fight.
Yeah.
They talked with the boys, and reportedly they were able to move on from it.
Those kind of fights happen a lot in high school.
Well, they do.
Yeah.
Because at that age, and I think you and I have touched on this subject before, the hormones are running rampant.
Oh, man.
Every relationship you're in seems like it's to some people, going to last a lifetime, which we know most of them don't.
Right.
But there can be a lot of jealousy and there can be a lot of anger and tempers can flare very quickly. But I think the one thing that is very evident from everything you read about this case is that from that point forward, Brian Bell and KJ, they weren't friends. Then over the next several months, there were additional rumors that Brian's on and off again girlfriend was being intimate with KJ, which then caused a flare up, caused additional issues between these two young men. I think what you also had during this time was some of the other guys in school being jealous of the attention that KJ got from many of the girls at school. We talked about it. He was a handsome guy, good at sports, smart. Okay, you're going to have a lot of females that may want to date you, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah, he had that natural charisma.
But I think the majority of the kids at the school liked KJ, and I don't think he ever saw it as a problem, right? The attention that he received, because he didn't feel like he was doing anything wrong. He was a very social person. And, if a girl wanted to chat him up, he was willing to chat with her.
That's what you do.
That's what guys that age do, for sure.
Absolutely.
If they have the ability.
Yeah.
Right? Because not every guy does, depending on your circumstance.
Right.
I know when you were in the chess club and, some of those things, maybe you didn't have the same opportunity.
I didn't.
As a 21-year-old sophomore, but
yeah, I had to wait to fencing class.
That wasn't KJ. On January 10th, 2013, KJ was at school and he headed over to the old gym to retrieve some personal belongings that he had stored in or behind some of the gym mats. And when we talk about these gym mats, these are very important.
Sure they are.
These are the large gym mats measuring, like 6 foot by 3 foot. A lot of times when they're not used, you had to roll them up. And even then they were large. They had a inside diameter of somewhere around 14 inches. Now in this old gym, most of the gym mats were standing up, but there were some that were laying down. They were placed in the corner by the bleachers. And it wasn't just KJ. There were other students who used these mats to store things in between classes, and they did so because they didn't want to have to walk all the way back to their lockers.
Yeah, it was a lot quicker to go in and do that, or if you were going to the gym class, that you could throw your stuff in there, do your gym class, come back and not have to worry about putting things in lockers.
And this is something I experienced with my youngest.
Yeah.
She was just finished her freshman year. That was the one thing that she really had trouble with. Some of the classes were so far away that there really wasn't enough time between some classes to go back to the locker. You had to carry 2 or 3 classes worth of books and materials, with you. It was said KJ shared a pair of Adidas gym shoes with 2 other guys for gym class. So they kept these shoes inside one of the old gym mats. KJ's school had a video surveillance system, and they had it in the old gym as well. So on the video, KJ can be seen entering the old gym at 1 p.m. that day. No other students are seen till around 1:03. But this is really where some of the controversy begins.
Sure.
And we'll circle back to the issue of the videotape later in the episode. It's a big part of this case. After KJ went into the gym, you don't see him leaving, and he misses the rest of his classes that day. KJ's mom, Jackie, knew that he was staying after school that day to attend a sporting event that one of his friends was participating in, and then he would be home after that. But as the night went along, Jackie started to become concerned, as all parents would. Now, she figured maybe they grabbed a bite to eat, or he got wrapped up talking with friends and he was just running late.
Which teens will do, right? We know that.
Very easily.
Yeah. Next thing you know, an hour goes by and they're like, oh, I need to get going.
Because I'll tell you, in dealing with my 2 kids, one of the last things on their mind, and I'm not saying this about KJ,
right,
but one of the last things on my kids' minds are worrying mom and dad.
Right.
It really is at the very bottom of their list that they think of things that they think about. So around 10 p.m., she drove up to the school to look for him. She drove around, couldn't find him. And then she went to some other places that she thought he might be, still couldn't find him.
No.
And Gibbs, I know we've touched on this. This is when, there's a point where it starts to sink in. As a parent, you start freaking out.
Yeah, the panic is creeping in quickly.
Yes. And, it's different for everyone at what point it starts to become like a full-blown panic. But every parent has probably experienced it at least one time.
Right.
You don't know where your child is. You don't know why they haven't called you to say, hey, I'm fine, but I'm running late.
And this is freaking Jackie out. Has to be.
Sure.
Her husband, Kenneth, is on the road. He's a trucker. He's on the road. He's up in Pennsylvania. So she calls him and she has to tell him everything going on. Hey, KJ hasn't been home. I went up and looked around the school. Couldn't find him. Drove around some other spots. I can't find him. I don't know what to do. They discuss it and they say, hey, we got to call the police now.
Well, because by this time, it's almost midnight.
Yeah.
I think they called the police sometime around 11:45 p.m. That is definite panic zone.
Oh, for sure.
For anybody when you're getting that late. So Jackie called police, told them that her son should have been home hours ago. She didn't find him when she went to look for him in her car. She also said that he hadn't called, and no one else that she had talked to knew where he was. She asked for help. The police told her, okay, maybe he's just out. He's not aware of what time it is, or maybe he just doesn't want to come home right at this moment. And essentially what they tell her is there's really not much they can do for her right now, but call back the next day if he still doesn't show up.
Sure.
I got a problem with that, and I'll tell you why. As a parent, when I call the police with a legitimate concern, I expect some help. We're not talking about a 25-year-old person who has the right to do whatever they want and can go and come as they please. This is a minor, right? 17 years old. I expect some help. And Gibbs, we're not talking about 1975. This is 2013. I would have thought that police at that point in time would have taken the notification from a parent that their child was missing much more seriously.
I'm just trying to think at that time of night, what could they have done?
They could have sent people out to look.
No, I know, but I'm saying if she went to she went to the main places he would be, besides just constantly canvassing those areas through the night.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess where I was headed was you and I have done a number of unsolved cases involving minors.
Yeah.
More recent cases where, okay, there's an Amber Alert. And I'm not saying that this was a case maybe that warranted an Amber Alert,
Sure.
but there were alerts that went out. There was, be on the lookout, if that's what you call it when you're looking for a missing person. For some reason, I didn't think it would be, hey, call us back in the morning.
Yeah.
For some reason, that just hit me a little strange, I guess.
Yeah. He doesn't come home and you don't find him tomorrow, reach out.
Because I'm thinking about how I would feel if I called my local police department and said, hey, I need help.
Yeah.
Right on the car, it says to protect and serve. I need the serve part.
Exactly.
Can you help me out?
I'd want to find a way to figure out who saw him last.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to get a Frisbee off my roof.
No.
I'm worried about my son who hasn't come home. So as you can imagine, KJ's mom and dad, they didn't sleep at all that night. And I don't think any parent would. They were so worried about where their son was, as we all would be.
Of course.
January 11th, 2013. The next morning, KJ still had not yet come home. His parents were even more concerned because they knew their son would never stay out all night, not come home. And if for some reason he ever did, he would have called.
Sure.
And let them know what was going on. And that morning, Jackie was at the high school as soon as school started. She went to the office and she started questioning staff. She wanted to know who saw her son last and when. The office receptionist decided that one way to help was to make a flyer, run copies of it, and place them throughout the school.
And she also thought it'd be good to email the teachers and staff to say, hey, does anybody know where KJ is? When's the last time you saw KJ?
Yeah, all good stuff. And a lot more than seems like the police did. I hate to harp on that, but it was around this time, unknown to KJ's mom, that in the old gym, a class was in session. Some of the students noticed what appeared to be a sock sticking out of the top of one of the gym mats. So they went over to check it out. And very quickly, Gibbs, they realized that someone was inside of this rolled up mat. They were upside down, right? Feet up, sticking up through this mat. This was around 10:20 a.m. Students and the teacher pushed the mat over on its side, and they tried to pull this person out by the top of their body. But I don't think it took them long to realize that, this person was dead.
Yeah, I think they could see the vomit and the blood, and I'm sure it had some type of odor at the time from being there overnight.
When I was also thinking the minute you grab a dead body,
Oh, yeah.
If that much time has passed. And again, we don't know exactly how much time. We're going to get into all those details. But the teacher moved everybody out of the old gym into the new gym. A whole bunch of 911 calls were placed. Students, the school. I think people were getting on their cell phone to call 911. So police arrived and they secured the school and specifically the old gym. Police spoke with KJ's mom, Jackie, and they told her that it was her son, KJ, who was found in the old gym inside a rolled up gym mat that was vertical, and he was inverted inside the mat.
Cannot imagine hearing that.
Now, I don't think any parents ever prepared to learn that their child is dead. But hearing these details specifically, just unbelievably strange. Police told her that they estimated he had been inside the mat for over 20 hours and his body had begun to show signs of decomposition. Police found one of KJ's textbooks laying near the gym mats and a pair of his shoes. Inside the mat, Gibbs, and you already mentioned it, there was blood and vomit, and by his head was another pair of shoes. On the wall behind the mats, there was some blood, and they found some bloody tissues in the gym, as well as in the trash can inside the girls' bathroom. But police were able to determine that the blood belonged to a female student who was hit in the nose earlier the day before. The police questioned some of the students, some teachers, and some staff that day. They didn't uncover anything suspicious. What I did find strange was that they only talked to some people. What I found very strange, and what I think a lot of people find strange, is that other students, teachers, and staff, they wouldn't be questioned for almost 3 months later. And, to me, that's a big deal in this case. And I know we'll touch on it more as we go along. To wait 3 months, you are losing details. People forget details. They start to remember things less clearly. It's just not optimal.
Yeah, because on the day of, they only interviewed 33 people. The next 2 months, they interviewed 5 people. And then in April, they interviewed 72 people. But like you just said, why would you wait that long of a time to interview somebody knowing that, I can't even tell you what I had for dinner last night.
Yeah, and I think it's just one aspect of this case, right? That people are going to point to and say, that wasn't handled the way it should have been handled. The only students that police wanted to interview who would not agree to an interview were Brian Bell, Brian's girlfriend, and Brian's brother, Brandon Bell. And this was done based on the direction given by their dad, who happened to be an FBI agent. And remember, Brian's the young man that had some issues with KJ some months prior. The police did request all the videos and cameras that were in the school, and of course, especially the ones in the old gym. Another issue that many people have in this case is with the timing of the coroner arriving at the school.
Sure.
The coroner wasn't called until after 4 p.m.
Nearly 6 hours later.
After the discovery of KJ's body.
Right.
So there's a somewhat large gap in time. Knowing that you have a dead body on site. Now, investigators said they were working the scene and they needed to have the students gone from the building before bringing in the coroner. Jackie and KJ's grandfather wanted to see his body, but they were not allowed to. Kenneth arrived home that day and he also demanded to see his son's body. He was initially denied. But he wouldn't take no for an answer. And he went straight to the press. And that put some heat on. And then after that, he was allowed to see his son's body. He noted that KJ's body appeared to have several bruises on it. His left eye and lips appeared to have been struck. He also said that he thought his fingers looked broken and that his nails were freshly cut.
Yeah, which he thought was really strange because KJ liked to have longer nails, and he kept them super clean, and he thought that was strange when he saw that. He also made note that it looked like someone might have broken KJ's fingers, like if you got in a grip war with somebody and they twisted your fingers backwards and would have snapped them. It looked like that happened.
Well, and I think people listening will go back to freshly cut nails, and everybody's probably headed towards the same theory. If that really happened, if somebody cut his nails, let's say post-mortem,
right?
There's only one reason to do that.
Sure.
And that is to try to eliminate possible evidence.
Yeah, get rid of that DNA underneath those nails.
The Georgia Bureau of Investigation coroner and the Lowndes County Sheriff determined the cause of death was accidental. The sheriff told press that KJ entered the gym at 1 p.m., headed over to the gym mats where he and his friends kept the other pair of shoes. He placed his book on the floor, took his shoes off, and then attempted to retrieve the other shoes from the gym mat. Now, in their theory, this is when something went wrong. And when he tried to reach in for the shoes, he slipped in head first with his hands down at his sides. He gets wedged inside this gym mat, tries to wriggle free, but the compression is so tight that he can't breathe and he dies. And on the autopsy, his cause of death was listed as positional asphyxia, which fits nicely with the GBI and the sheriff's theories.
Sure it does.
Now, his parents had issues with the autopsy. There were other people that had issues with the autopsy because Gibbs, I think, frankly, they just didn't think it was plausible that it happened that way.
No, I can see that too. You know, I mean, when you look at what the scenario is, the theory of the investigators, it's a little hard to swallow.
Well, first of all, let's go back to the gym mat. You and I talked about it. The dimension of the opening of this rolled up gym mat was said to have been 14 inches wide.
Right.
And the width of KJ's shoulders was at least 19 inches. So, right there, I think people had a problem.
Yeah.
That's 5 inches that are difficult to explain. How you fit something that's 19 inches wide into a 14-inch opening.
Right.
And not just fit it in, you fall into it. Because that's a big difference.
Sure it is, yeah.
Between shoving something into an opening and accidentally falling into it, where you need even more clearance to fall into something.
So you're not scraping up against the sides as you go down, right?
Right, because you would just stop.
Yeah, exactly. You would stop, as soon as your shoulders hit. I mean, even if you have your hands down by the side and you roll your shoulders forward, you're going to shorten that span down. But that's if you do that, right?
If all the stars aligned and everything kind of fit perfectly, is it plausible? I still don't know if it is. Now, investigators thought it was.
Sure they did, yeah.
But it seemed very unlikely to many people, including the family. I think the other thing was they felt, why would KJ have tried to get to the shoes that way? He wouldn't have. He would have just pushed the mat over and reached in and grabbed them.
I mean, those mat rolls are 6 foot tall. KJ's 5'9". If they're at the bottom, what makes you think that you're going to be able to, even with your really long arms, that you're going to be able to reach down there? Why would you do that when you could just push the mat up or do anything else but that? Doesn't make any sense.
Right, because if you flip the mat over, then the shoes are at the opposite end, right there waiting for you.
Yeah.
Not very far in at all, probably.
Exactly.
So I think it's safe to say KJ's parents were not satisfied with the cause of death. They felt that there was some type of foul play that occurred in the death of their son. And on top of that, I think they thought there was something going on with the school, with the investigators, that possibly they were trying to cover something up. KJ's parents asked Reverend Floyd Rose of the Southern Christian Leadership to do his own investigation into KJ's death. It was quickly noted that if KJ had fallen into the mat shortly after entering the gym at 1 p.m., and there were other students who entered the gym right after that for a gym class, wouldn't they have seen something? Wouldn't they have heard him struggle? Wouldn't they have heard him cry out for help?
I think that something would have been going on in that corner.
Well, you're not going to be stuck in a mat and not have some overwhelming sense of panic.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly when you realize I can't get out and I'm starting to feel compressed, if that's the way it really happened. You're going to struggle. You're going to yell. And there's no way that other people in the gym are not going to see and or hear this. Reverend Rose also took issue with the length of time it took to call the coroner to the site. And he felt it was odd that once the family asked to see the body, they were denied several times. Another issue was that the clothes KJ was wearing the day that he died were never returned to his family. So if this was classified as an accidental death, there would be no reason to not return his clothing to his family.
Yeah, there's no DNA that they need to try to take off the clothes.
No, because it's an accident.
Right.
They've ruled it an accident. But the family never received them. And later they were told that they were destroyed.
So why is that? Why is that? That's the questions that I would have as a parent. Why did you destroy them? If you didn't think this was a crime, then why didn't you just return them to us? And I think this is the whole issue with this case. Well, one of the issues with the case moving forward is at every step, there always seems to be that, why did you do that?
Right. I mean, we've talked about 4 or 5 examples already of things that I think to most people would seem very strange handling by the police.
Yeah, it's definitely suspicious. So that's going to build in your mind, again, here's something else they did. Here's another thing.
So no doubt, Gibbs, the family, after, finding all of these things out, they just thought something wasn't right. And after consulting with their investigators and their attorney, they requested an independent autopsy. And they hired William Anderson with Forensic Dimensions in Heathrow, Florida. This happened on June 15th, 2013. Anderson claimed that his findings indicated traces of blunt force trauma to the right neck and soft tissues, and he suggested that the death was not accidental. His autopsy also noted that KJ's body had been filled in with newspapers instead of the proper filling where his organs had been removed.
Well, in the funeral home that initially received the body after the first autopsy said, look, we got the body in that condition. His organs were missing. They didn't send them with the body. So we had to fill those voids. And our standard practice is to take newspaper, roll it up, and put it in where those spots would be.
Wow, I would have never imagined. Again, I have no knowledge of how funeral homes, work, but I just would have never imagined that would be something that would be used.
Yeah. I mean, KJ's parents even took some action against that funeral home, but eventually that funeral home was cleared. I think the state frowned upon what they did, but cleared them and said, hey, you should start using best practices instead of just using the old ways back in the day that people did things.
But they didn't find that they had technically done anything wrong.
Correct.
I think that's the key.
Exactly.
The other question the family had was, what happened to the organs? Why did they not go to the funeral home with the body?
Well, again, they're not going to like the answer.
No, because they found out that after the first autopsy was performed, the organs were destroyed.
Yeah.
And all this did was cause, again, more suspicion on the part of the family against authorities.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if this was an accident, why every time we turn our heads, something has been destroyed or done different than the typical procedure?
On October 31st, 2013, the family's attorney was able to get the U.S. attorney for the Middle District of Georgia to open a formal review into KJ's death. But during this time, some of the people who had been working with the parents decided to resign over differences that they had with the direction the parents were moving in. The parents said they only wanted to have people on their team that felt the same way they did about what occurred to their son.
Yeah, I think there was a few people in their camp that started to say that they felt maybe it was an accident. And that's just not the message you want coming out of your own camp if you believe that it was not an accident.
No, I get it. I mean, the family at this point is pretty clear.
Sure.
With their message in that there's no way this was an accident. there was foul play.
Yeah.
So they're not going to want to have people in their camp that are even on the fence about it.
No, either on our side, the way that we are thinking this went down, or you're not.
But at the same time, Gibbs, I will say it's interesting that there were people, even, on their side that started to have their doubts.
Yeah. And I think like one of them I know made the statement saying, well, if the local police, the sheriff, the GBI, the FBI, the medical examiner, if all of them didn't see, the first medical examiner, not the people that did the autopsy after, didn't see that this was anything but accidental, well, then it's probably just accidental. Problem with that is we know that sometimes that's not always the truth. We've seen it in some other high-profile cases where power, money can make the outcome whatever you want it to be.
Well, and I don't even think it's always that conspiracy-driven. I think sometimes those calls are made because someone just doesn't see evidence of foul play. So what else are they left to call it?
Sure. Yeah.
Or they're erring on the side, because if you call it foul play and rule it a homicide, then, you're putting the police in motion to search for a suspect.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel confident that you can back that up, then do you err on the side of accidental? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
And we've talked about the surveillance videos, that they were big in this case. Investigators came out and said they didn't see anything on the tapes that showed anything suspicious or showed any type of wrongdoing.
Right.
But then something happened. CNN was able to obtain these videos through court action in November of 2013. And they reviewed almost 300 hours of videos from 35 different cameras. They quickly uncovered that 2 cameras were missing footage. One was missing 65 minutes of footage and the other 130 minutes. And to me, Gibbs, flat out, this is the most, I don't know if intriguing is the right word.
Controversial.
Yeah, it's definitely the most controversial part of this case, because anyone can go out there and view the footage.
Sure.
You and I have watched it a number of times. Yeah. There's definitely something wrong, because you can clearly see KJ walk into the gym.
Yeah.
And then it's almost as if there's no one there. And then all of a sudden there's someone there.
Yeah. It's like it skips.
It's like there's a break.
Yes.
In the recording. Exactly. And it's very clear to see. I mean, you don't have to be a trained video technician to see something is really strange with this video.
It's like someone said, push the erase, now let go.
Well, it's like when I do our Patreon videos,
right,
that come out every week. If I cut out a chunk of it.
Sure.
Well, there are times when at the start of the cut, you have a cup in your hand.
Right.
At the end of the cut, you've put the cup back down on the table.
Right.
Not too hard to figure out that something was cut from that video.
Yeah, you didn't see my arm move down and place the cup back down.
And that's pretty much what you see here. There's no way that this is a continuous video flow.
So what was on that part that was cut out? I think that's what everybody wants to know. So what was that?
It's the mystery.
Yeah. And when you say you have 65 minutes of stuff like that on one camera, and then you have another 130 minutes of potential voids on another camera, it's going to cause a lot of questions. So the other side, the investigators will say, well, the reason that you have nothing showing on the recordings for, 60 some minutes on the one, 130 minutes on the other is because the internal clocks on those cameras were never set correctly. So it's throwing the timing off. So the timing is not actually correct on the film that you see, the timestamps. And then they said the other thing is that these cameras were also connected to motion sensors. So they would only go on if some motion came across. But that still doesn't answer the question on that video we were just talking about. It certainly looks like somebody edited.
Yeah, because there is movement at the time that everything changes. And the movement is like some people are moving in the middle of the frame.
Yeah.
On the one video that I saw, it's not like the camera started up and it picked them up right in the side of the frame.
Yes.
It's like it started when they were already in the middle of the frame.
Right.
Doesn't seem right.
No, it doesn't. Something's definitely off with that. I also know that the school confirmed that there was never a camera pointed at the mats. But I think, KJ's family, I don't know if they believe that all these 35 cameras they had throughout the school, that there was no camera that caught that angle over where the bleachers and the wrestling mats were.
Again, I think it plays into their way of thinking, which is somebody is hiding something from us. Would you agree? I think that's what they thought.
At this point, you'd have to think like that of almost everything that comes up because of the way that the investigation has been handled.
Now, what is seen in one of the videos is Brandon Bell, the brother of Brian Bell, again, the person who KJ had some issues with in the past. He left his classroom just before KJ entered the old gym, and he's seen on the hallway camera going into the locker room. He comes out just a little bit after 1 p.m., and he's wearing different clothing. Now, some people have viewed the footage and say that they see what appears to be blood on his left sleeve. But Brandon would later dispute this fact, and he showed the shirt he says he had on that day, and he said it's the shirt logo that's in the spot where some thought they saw blood. He also said he went to the locker room because he needed to check his weight for his wrestling match and to change clothes for the bus ride to the match, something that he did before traveling to all of his matches. In 2014, the Department of Justice raided the brothers' homes. They also raided their dad's home. That same year, the Bell family sued a media outlet for defamatory statements for $5 million.
Yeah, big dollars.
Now, we couldn't find what the outcome of the suit was, but there could have been maybe a settlement that was sealed or something like that. KJ's parents filed a $100 million wrongful death suit in 2015 and named their son's former schoolmates, Brian Bell, Brandon Bell, and their father, FBI Special Agent Rick Bell, and more than 36 other defendants. On June 20th, 2016, the U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Georgia announced that it would not be filing any criminal charges related to Johnson's death. Then in June 2017, a judge dismissed the Johnsons' wrongful death suit and ordered them and their attorney to pay more than $292,000
Ouch.
in legal fees to the defendants. KJ's family filed a legal action to open a coroner's inquiry into his death, but it was placed on hold pending the outcome of the U.S. District Attorney review by the judge. KJ's parents didn't want to wait. They wanted answers, so they went to the governor and asked him to immediately authorize the inquiry instead. The Johnson family, together with the NAACP and other civil rights activists, held a rally at the state capitol in Atlanta. But the governor's office released a statement stating they would allow the U.S. attorney to finish his review of the case first, which we know happened back in 2016. The family was granted permission to exhume their son's body once again on June 22nd, 2018 for a third autopsy. The third autopsy agreed with the second autopsy and listed KJ's cause of death as a non-accidental blunt force trauma. KJ's parents want the DOJ to reopen this case and look into everything again. They want hard answers to why and how their son died. And I think it's clear, Gibbs, what the theory is on the part of KJ's family. They believe that two young white males, brothers, the Bells, who we've listed, were upset that a young black male had a relationship with one of the guy's girlfriends. One of the brothers beat their son, hit him in the neck with a dumbbell, then he dumped KJ's body into the rolled up gym mat. Continuing with their theory, the Johnsons claim that they got this information from a friend of the Bells who was at this party. Now, since all of the massive protests taking place worldwide in the wake of the police killing of George Floyd, there has been a petition started calling for an investigation into the death of Kendrick Johnson to be reopened. The petition, titled "Reopen Kendrick Johnson's Case," #J4Kendrick, has gathered more than 1.2 million signatures. It states that Johnson's popularity made him a target of jealousy among his classmates, and that the son of a retired FBI agent killed KJ over a girl that they both liked. It's out there. You can review the petition to read what they say occurred that day. It gives, I think, you and I both can see the issues that the family has with the handling of the investigation into their son's death. I think that's pretty clear. It's pretty easy to see, from how the investigation was handled to the coroner reports, to what went on at the funeral home. I think it would make a lot of people doubt what they were being told by officials. KJ's parents have been sued for close to $1 million in attorney fees and probably around $1 million in defamation damages, but they haven't stopped.
No.
And they're not going to stop.
They want answers, man. They
do. They want to get justice for their son. They have a Facebook page that people can go out and look at. It's called RIP Kendrick Johnson. So that's the mysterious death of Kendrick Johnson. Some will say, okay, this is solved, but it's tragic because it was an accident.
Sure. Yeah.
Others will say, no, it needs to be investigated further because there's just too many unanswered questions. You have 3 different autopsies. 2 of the 3 are indicating that this was not accidental.
Right.
It just so happens that the one that was done by officials does say it was accidental. I do think that the petition for this case to be reopened is gaining a lot of momentum right now out on social media, especially in the wake of everything that's going on. There's a real push to look at some of these cases and say they need to be reopened. Because I think there's a lot of people, Gibbs, that feel like something or some things were swept under the rug. I think that's a feeling that many people have in this case.
Yeah.
From the video to, all the other things we talked about.
I think if they would have had the family more involved throughout the investigation, I think if they were more open on what and how they did some of this investigation with the family, maybe we'd have a different scenario. I don't know. I just think when you don't allow the family to see the body, you wait so long to interview witnesses,
to call the coroner.
I mean, when that just compounds the suspicious activity in someone's head.
Well, yeah, it leads to a lot of doubt.
Yeah.
On the part of the family that everything was done correctly, because things are pointing to, okay, this wasn't done quite right. This wasn't done quite right. So you take a bunch of things and add it up in total, and what you get is this wasn't a good investigation.
Yeah.
On the part of the family.
Could someone fall into that center of that mat? Maybe. But if you want your shoe, you're reaching for it. You're reaching down. Your hand is extended out. And if you accidentally fall in, your hand's going to be out in front of you because you're trying to get that shoe down there. Your hands aren't going to be down at your sides like you're going head first.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I go back to the fact of KJ was a very intelligent person. I think I can see him walking over to the mat. Okay, my shoe's at the bottom of this 6-foot mat.
Right.
But with one light push, the mat falls down.
Yeah.
And I grab my shoe from this end.
Yeah.
And I'm done. So, I have that. I have this video that I cannot get past. There is something strange with this video. Now, I get it. They say it was motion sensors and it cut off and then it picked back up.
Right.
I urge everybody to go out, look at the video, see it for yourself. And, maybe there is nothing hinky going on, but man, there's a lot of stuff that seems strange. And I think that's why so many people have a problem with this case.
Yeah. Why destroy the clothes? Why destroy the organs? Why?
You just can tick down all the different things.
Yeah.
But that's it for the case of Kendrick Johnson. I mean, this is one that we will need to follow up on.
Sure.
If anything breaks, if they reopen, if, there's some new information that comes out. Hopefully there is, because I would be fascinated to find out the truth. If it's something other than what officials have labeled it as.
Yeah, and I think probably everybody in this would like for this to finally be resolved.
We'll just have to wait and see what happens, what comes out.
Yeah.
We got some voicemails, Gibbs. You want to check those out?
Let's hear those.
Hey guys, let me try this again sober this time. Sorry, had a graduation last night. Still a shock, Anyways, this is Kim calling from Minnesota, don't you know? I hope that accent was better for you, Gibby. Just wanted to say hi and tell you how much I love you guys and tell you about one of my friends at work. She loves listening to you guys. She loves working with me on Sundays because I listen to you over my Bluetooth speaker, and then I have to go to the back of the lab, and then she gets sad because she's like, man, that's a good one. Why do you gotta leave me? Anyways, so shout out to Bonnie. So stay safe and keep your own time ticking, guys.
So Kim cracked me up because I think she left 3 voicemails.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do this, right? They start on a voicemail, and at some point during it, they decide they don't like it. So then it becomes the Seinfeld episode where, how do you erase it?
Yeah.
And some people have actually, I can hear them hitting buttons. Like they think, not Kim, but I can hear people hitting buttons.
Right.
Somebody did this just last week, and they sent me an email saying, you're going to hear a voicemail from me. I'm, for some reason, thought if I press certain buttons, I might be able to erase
They're
it.
Like 0 pound, what pound 7? What? Why is it not deleting?
But so then, they'll leave another one. If that doesn't go right, then, maybe they'll try a third one. Yeah. Eventually people get it, and it's always funny, but we appreciate it. And shout out to Bonnie.
Thanks, Bonnie,
for listening as well.
Hey, Mike and Gibby, it's Kelly here calling you from Canadian cottage country. And, hey, I just wanted to say again, thanks again for the great podcast. I've been doing some binging on the True Crime All the Time Unsolved now, as well as criminology, since I have the Stitcher Premium. And I just listened to the Dardine family massacre, and what an absolutely brutal case. And just a tip for people who may not be, so comfortable with the non-finality of the cases that are not solved, I like to go set a Google alert. So now I can go and set a Google alert for the Dardine family, and if anything ever materializes, I get an email, and it's pretty cool. On an unrelated topic, actually, Gibby, I am in charge of the membership for Mensa here, and I've been going through our list, and I have not been able to find you an M. Gibson or a Gibby or a Rex West or anything on our membership. So I don't know if that's something, are you actually a member or what's going on there? But anyway, you might want to have a look at that, and have a great day, guys. Stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
Hey, are you looking at the preferred list?
You're on the special top secret, double secret probation list.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's got to be some kind of oversight. Yeah.
You have to use Pi to find it.
But I did think, when he started talking, I was like, wow, he's very articulate.
Yeah.
So then when he said, he was a part of Mensa, because I got the feeling like I was sitting across from you.
I felt like I was with with one of my brothers, man.
Yeah, kindred spirits.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Mike and Gibby, it's Katie calling from Durham, North Carolina. I've been a longtime listener of both True Crime All the Time and Unsolved, and I love both. I'm Team Mike because, really you guys just are such a great pair, and you can't have one without the other. You crack me up so much just with the way that you play off of each other and make fun of each other in a lighthearted way. But I had taken a little bit of a break from listening just because I had a baby a year ago, and life was just different and crazy, and I usually listen to your podcast when I'm running, so I hadn't really been running nearly as much, but just started getting back into your podcast a few months ago. While I've been running, it keeps me distracted. A lot of times, I try to listen to at least one of your episodes as I'm running. I don't even think about how much I've run or feel like can't wait till it's over because I'm just excited about your storytelling. So anyway, I've just finished my run this morning and came home and finally fit back into my pre-pregnancy jeans. So I just owe that all to you, I feel, because you guys have been keeping me entertained and as I get back in shape. Anyway, I always look forward to Monday mornings, especially, which is not something most people can say because I have my new episode of True Crime All the Time and Unsolved ready to go. So thanks for all that you're doing, especially in quarantine. You've been a real lifesaver and just a mood lightener for a lot of people, and I really appreciate you. Stay safe and keep your own time ticking. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Hey, we have something in common. I just finally was able to fit into my pre-COVID jeans.
Oh, yeah, are you?
Yeah.
I am not because the quarantine has not been kind on Ferg. Let's just put it that way.
Well, you know.
I've been too much DoorDash. But that's awesome. I mean, you know, we always say however we can help. Now, I wish I could help myself in that same department, but which I can help myself. I just choose not to.
Yeah, I know. I have heard a lot of people say they like to jog or run while they listen to
I've also heard people say they had to stop doing it because they got a little scared.
That's true too.
I've heard that as well.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. My name is Becky, and I live in southern Utah. And I have been listening to you guys for about 3 years now. You were one of the first true crime podcasts I started listening to and continue to listen to this day. Just have a funny story for you here. My kids, they're 8 and 11, both boys, and they know that I listen to true crime. Usually I listen while I'm cleaning, which is when they're at school. And so I have my privacy and I can put my AirPods in and just listen to true crime and clean and get what I need done. But because of COVID-19, they've been home and they have found out that it is funny for them to stand behind me when I'm not paying attention. So as I'm listening to my true crime podcast, I'll be listening to something and I'll turn around and they'll just be standing there and scare the crap out of me. So thank you so much for giving me something to listen to at this time, other than my kids fighting and yelling. And thank you for giving them something to do that's funny to their mom. So thanks for all you guys do. I'm so glad you keep putting out the episodes. On the last True Crime All the Time, you said that you wanted to start touring and have beers. So I think you should do it. I think we should start a page, get money raised, and when this is all over, get it done. So thanks so much. Stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
I used to be big into scaring my mom, jumping around corners and things like that. I just thought that was so funny.
Yeah, she thought it was really cute, Mike.
She did not like it. All right, buddy, we got to get out of here.
All right.
That is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.